Okay, so 3 little important things before I start the video. The first thing is that, of course, this video will contain spoilers for Undertale and Deltarune, so you have to finish the game, or at least know about the games in order to understand most of what I'm saying, since it's built on that. And the second thing is that this is the theory, and I'm not gonna make the joke, and I'm not saying it's 100% right, but I believe it's quite close. So yeah, basically, don't bash me for my personal opinions, please. Just leave a comment about your thoughts, and I try to read as many of them as possible. 3, this is my first English video, so I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing some things, or get tongue twisted, or like mistake some pronouns or something, and I really hope it won't hinder your enjoyment of the video. So let's start, and let's talk about Deltarune. Deltarune is the first chapter demo that was released by Toby Fox on the Halloween Eve, and it was like a Halloween gift actually. People immediately started calling it Undertale 2, but Toby Fox denied that and stated that it's neither a sequel nor a prequel, and that it's a different world, and that we'll get to it later. In Deltarune, you create a character that is immediately replaced by the main protagonist, a human named Chris. Chris lives in the light world with monsters, most of which are familiar to Undertale players. He is, in fact, Toriel and Asgore's child, and thus Asriel's brother. You start the game by getting up from bed, exploring the house, then going to school late. You're being paired up with what seems like the class bully, a monster called Susie. You're then asked to go fetch some chalk from the closet, a quest that will turn wrong as you venture into the set closed with Susie. The floor crumbles and you fall down into what seems to be the Dark World, a world inhabited by monsters called Darkners, that refer to those on the surface as Lightners. You soon meet the prince, Ralsei. He explains to the party that they are foretold heroes of prophecy, to restore order in the Dark World and to bring peace to it. The prince gets interrupted by the main antagonist called Lancer, that taunts them and offers some insight on what's actually happening from his point of view. After the first confrontation, you form the party and go on to adventure that will eventually lead to making friends, enemies, facing challenges, and finally, leaving the Dark World back to the Light One. You wake up with Susie in an abandoned classroom, and on the ground you find what seems to be a representation of the world you were in, made of chess and checker pieces, puzzle blocks, chalk boxes and other stuff, just laying around as if played with. Susie denies that it was a dream and ventures off. You leave the school too, discover a bit of the world around you, and go back home to be promised a piece of pie when you wake up from sleep. So like you started the game, you go back in bed. But the game does not end there. In fact, the biggest plot twist is perhaps to be seen. As Chris wakes up, stabs himself in the chest, and rips his heart out. Throwing it into a cage that he keeps in his room, he turns away from the camera, reveals a knife, and grins as his eye shines with a bright red, turning into what I think is Chara. This is in a nutshell what happens in Deltarune Chapter 1, and I could spend hours talking about every little detail in the demo, but I promised you a theory, and I'm not keeping you waiting any longer. I think that Deltarune is a simulation. I know. Just wait a moment. I know it's easy nowadays to throw every book, movie, or game underneath the bus of, oh, this is just a dream, or the more modern alternative of, oh, this is just a simulation. But please hear me out first. There are many things, many things, links and reasons why I'm saying that it's a simulation, the first of which is actually the first thing you see as you open the game. On the screen, text appears that says, "Are we connected?" Excellent. Truly excellent. Now we may begin. First, we must create a vessel. And after you select the head, torso, feet, and other various aspects of your vessel, the game asks you the name of the vessel, and right after, the name of the creator. This does feel like the beginning of an RPG, a character creation of sorts, but also a sim game, as you not only name the creation but also the creator itself. The fact that it establishes a connection is also noteworthy. You don't need the "are we connected" bit if it was just a game, but in the setting of a simulation, it makes total sense. Someone is asking for your input, a certain someone we'll discuss later. But let's move on for now. One thing that might catch your attention while playing Deltarune is that it's not choice-oriented. Unlike Undertale, the choices you make in Deltarune do not matter, and the game will point that out over and over again, from the starting scene where the game tells you that your character will be discarded and that no one can choose who they are in this world, to Susie constantly skipping on your choices and telling you that they don't matter, to having basically only one ending to the game, and even the fact that it's impossible to make a genocide run. Yes, I checked, it's literally impossible to make a genocide run, as every enemy that hits 0 HP will simply flee the battle. Not die, flee the battle. And even if you consider that it's a kill, it is just not possible to beat King Ground. Every 3 turns, he will heal up to 300 HP, while you deal maximum damage of 200, and after some point, he'll start dealing 700 HP of heal to himself, making it a solid stop to any attempt at a genocide run. The game just wants you to act, or at least win the fights peacefully. Another reason why I think it's a simulation is the behavior of the characters in the game. I'm talking of course about the characters we already met in Undertale. In Deltarune, Sans just barely knows Toriel. Alphys is a teacher instead of the royal scientist, Undyne is a police officer instead of the royal guard, and she doesn't even know Alphys. She also doesn't have the eye patch to hide her scarred eye. Brady and Carrie are definitely not friends, Garson is dead of old age, and many other things are changed. Yet, the characters still exist. Is it in the past? Maybe a prequel? No, it's not. Azrael is said to be in college, Toriel and Asgore are not together, and Garson is dead. Plus, the monsters seem to be fine and dandy having a human living among them as one of them. So maybe in the future. No, it's not either. There are no humans, except for Chris, anywhere to be found, and nobody even mentions them. Yet the monsters are living on the surface. We can clearly see the sunset and sunrise happening in the game, the sun being something new for monsters. We can also assume that they are indeed living on the surface now. The characters that don't know each other are also a clue, and there doesn't seem to be much changes in the ages of these. The Burger Pants guy is still 19 and wants to go to the college, and generally, every character is the same age as their version in Undertale. Well, then maybe it's just another world. Yeah, of course it is. Even Toby Fox said in his Twitter account after launching the game, and I quote, "I will say that basically what you're seeing here is not the world of Undertale. Undertale's world and ending are the same as however you left them. If everyone was happy in your ending, the people in the Undertale world would still be happy. So please don't worry about those characters and that world. It will remain untouched." To rephrase that, Deltarune's world is a different one, with different characters that have lived different lives. A whole new story will happen. I don't know what to call this kind of game. It's just a game you can play after you complete Undertale, if you want to. So what Toby Fox basically said is that Deltarune is a world different from Undertale's, and so are the characters. And I don't think it's just another timeline for the Undertale world. Why? Simple. Because in the Undertale universe we have characters that can travel and live through all the timelines simultaneously. Mainly Sans and Papyrus, yet we don't see Papyrus, and Sans doesn't seem to show any of these fourth wall breaking abilities. Which can only mean one thing, that this world of Deltarune is not linked to the other timeline branches, and its characters were created and are contained in it, with no way to affect the Undertale world, just like a simulation. You see, someone programmed this world as it is in Deltarune, adding characters they already know, but in very simple ways, not changing much from what they know about them. Even their interests and dreams are basically the same. The Burger Pants guy wants to go to college and become a comedian, Alf is still addicted to anime, Undyne is obsessed with law, etc. This same person has also made some changes to what they thought would happen in a few years. Oh, why a few years? Well, if you search the game files, you can find the actual manual that Ralsei gives you during the game, a manual that states the date as 2020X. a different decade from the 21X that Undertale takes place in. In this programmed future, the creator thought that Garson would be dead of old age. Well, it's either that, or they made it so that he's dead, the only person that seems interested in the actual legend of Deltarune, and that could break the immersion if someone talked too much to him. But was he the only one? Let's take a look at Jevil. Okay, some of you might have missed this encounter on your first run, but basically, if while escaping the prison you go back to the elevator and press the panel, you can access a room that is labeled ? Inside that room there is a gate with someone from the other side wanting us to free them. If you can collect 3 pieces of a key and have them fixed, we can open the gate to reveal a bonus boss fight with a jester called Jevil. But what's so interesting about Jevil and how does he fit in all of this? Let's see his first dialogue. When we meet Jevil, he claims that he's not the one imprisoned, that we're the ones inside, and he's the one that's free. After we beat him, if we visit Sheem, we unlock 2 dialogues. The first states, Jevil was the court jester and Sheem the court mage. Jester was very good at games. One day, he met a strange someone, and since then he began to change. He started saying bizarre things that didn't completely make sense. He didn't completely make sense either. Soon, he began to see the world as a game, and everyone as its participants. And the second one, you defeated him? You really defeated him? I see. Perhaps you 3 may truly be heroes after all, but Jevil was just a taste of what you'll face from now on. One day soon, you too will begin to realize the futility of your actions. There's so much in these dialogues that can be analyzed, so let's start with the second one. The part where Sheem talks about the player realizing the futility of their actions. This supports the no-choice theme all around the game and goes way with the simulation theory. As for the first dialogue, it seems that someday, Jevil met someone that changed his perception of the world, making him realize that he's living in a game, that all the characters are participants. In other words, Jevil met with a person, the only person, that knows the true nature of this world, its creator. He realized that he is the pawn in the game, and it corrupted him and his programming, forcing the creator to imprison him outside the simulation, making him, in a way, free from it. Remember when he states that we're the ones inside and he's not? These and so many more details are pushing me towards the simulation theory. Details like the story of the lightness and darkness that mirrors the story of the humans and monsters from Undertale, the mysterious man that gives you an egg in the dark world dream, an egg you can use in the real world and store in Asgore's fridge, and so many others. But if this is a simulation, who made it? Who is this someone that I keep referencing? The person that met with Jevil, and the same one that is connecting with you at the very beginning, and perhaps, more importantly, to what purpose did they make this simulation? To answer the question who's behind this simulation, let's head back to Undertale. Specifically, the secret room 264, a room that contains the lost entry number 17 from the True Lab experiments. The entry says, dark, darker, yet darker. The darkness keeps growing. The shadows cutting deeper. Photons reading negative. This next experiment seems very, very interesting. What do you two think? The entry is written in Windings, and I think you know where this is leading. Just like this has been written by W.D. Gaster, the simulation is too. In fact, the simulation is the experiment he's talking about. The experiment that is very, very interesting. And before you say this is a hasty conclusion, let's back off a bit and see what other clues we have. For starters, the sound that plays when you read the entry 17 is strangely the same sound you hear when you try calling someone on the phone during Deltarune. But not just that. After finishing the Dark World arc, and you head down south of town, you can find a locked red door. Approaching the door, you can hear a buzzing coming from inside, repeating over and over, and if you speed it up 10 times, guess what? It's the same sound effect that plays during the phone calls and when reading entry 17. And about the phone calls, in Undertale, whenever you meet a Gaster follower, you can't call anyone on the phone, just like in Deltarune. But let's just get a bit deeper, shall we? Heading back to Sheem's shop and what he says about Jevil. After explaining the changes that happened to the Jester, he says, "Since that time, the strange words he said have stuck inside my cotton, and my view of this word has become darker, yet darker." Reminds you of something? Let's talk about the Gaster followers for a second. Throughout Undertale, it is known that you can randomly meet several monsters that refer to Gaster and his experiments, and how he fell into his last creation, the core. If we look into the sprite files and the character names, they all share a similarity. Two, actually. The first one is that they are all in grey, the second is that they have the word Goner in their names. Goner Kid, Claim Goner, etc. Do you know who else has Goner its name? The parts you make your character with in the beginning of Deltarune. Goner Head, Goner Torso, etc. So even if they aren't made by Gaster himself, they are at least made by one of his followers. In Undertale, we don't know exactly what Gaster looks like, but we assume that this sprite is him. This sprite is called Mystery Man. Now this one might be a bit of a stretch, but in the Dark World in Deltarune there's a secret room you can unlock by going back and forth through the Bird Road. If you do so, you can find a single tree. Interacting behind it, a message appears saying, well, there is a man here. This man doesn't show up and there is no sprite of him in the game, but what's interesting is that he gives you an item. An egg that you can, strangely enough, keep outside the dream world and store in Asgore's fridge. Keep in mind that this is the only item that persists after moving from the said dream, as all your inventory turn into a ball of junk. But the egg, given by the mysterious man, stays. Who can have the power to break the rules of a simulation like this, besides from its maker himself? Finally, let's talk about the recent Switch release of Undertale. In this version of the game, besides from some slight changes here and there is an NPC that has its dialogue changed from the previous version to that one. In the old one, you can meet Clam Girl and she says, "I'm visiting the waterfall from the city. Synchronicity? My neighbor's daughter looks about your age. Her name is Susie. I feel like you two should be friends." Yes, Susie, like the monster girl we have in our party in Deltarune, with the exception that it's written with a Z and a Y, unlike the new game. But the coincidence is striking. As I said, this was in the old version. She says, "So you never met my neighbor's daughter, but please don't despair, because the time you will meet her is fast approaching." Notice how she turns grey when she says that and disappear, just like Gaster's followers. This was released on the Switch on the 18th of September, a month and a half before Deltarune's release, and yes, we did meet Susie, just like she knew we would. If by now you're not convinced yet that Gaster is behind all of this, let me take you out of the game's world for a little bit, but don't worry, we'll stay connected to the whole puzzle still. On October 30th, a day before Deltarune is released, a bunch of posts were uploaded to the Undertale Twitter account. They read as follow. "Welcome. Have you been looking for me? How wonderful. I have been looking for you as well. I have something I want to show you. Something I think you will find very, very interesting. But it's not complete yet. No, it is far from complete. Thus, I have a small favor to ask of you. Return here in 24 hours. At that time, I will ask you a few questions. Then, using your responses, we will approach its realization. Thank you very much for your time. I will be in contact again, soon. Thank you for waiting so long. After all, you and I, we have been waiting for such a very long time. So to be here, finally, on the verge of connection, is quite exciting. I look forward to creating a new future with you. Now, show yourself. Deltarune." Two things to note here. All of the tweets were written in uppercase, same as the introductory text in the game. Same for the use of the word connection and contact. Second thing, did you notice? It's him, Gaster. He made Deltarune, and his last experiment, a simulation with no choice involved. But why? Okay, I gotta be frank here, this part is a bit in shambles. Not because it doesn't make sense, but more because I still need to figure out some pieces of the puzzle. There are so many mysteries surrounding Deltarune and Undertale, but I'm gonna focus on what I think is the reason why Gaster made the simulation that is Deltarune, and to do that, I'll go back to the shocking ending of the game. At the end of the sequence and after Chris falls asleep, he wakes up again, he rips his heart out and throws it in the cage, reveals a knife and grins to the camera with a red glowing eye. A la Chara. And I think he is Chara, or more like became Chara. Now hold on a second, this is not the ending. The ending is when Chris gets in bed and sleeps. The moment Chara takes control, that is the consequence. You know, like when you write a program and finish writing it, then that's the ending. But when you compile it, you can see the results on the screen. That's basically what I mean by that. So, this whole thing, this Deltarune experience, was made for one of two purposes. Either to create Chara, or to tame it. And I'm gonna dismiss the first one right away. Yes, the only ending is Chara taking over, but remember what I said about the difference between ending and consequences. Plus, I'm gonna show you hopefully just enough evidence to support the fact that Deltarune was made to contain and rework Chara into a better being. In Undertale, when you follow a genocide run, at the end, you meet with Chara, an entity that was infused with the stats numbers so much, its determination made it go crazy. And at the very end, she turns to you and says the following. Greetings! I'm Chara. Thank you. Your power awakened me from death. My human soul, my determination. They were not mine, but yours. At first, I was so confused. Our plan has failed, hadn't it? Why was I brought back to life? You, with your guidance. I realized the purpose of my reincarnation. Power. Together we eradicated the enemy and became strong. HP, attack, defense, gold, XP, level. Every time a number increases, that feeling. That's me. Now we have reached the absolute. There's nothing left for us here. Let us erase this pointless world and move on to the next. And if you choose to not erase the word, she says, no? How curious. You must have misunderstood. Since when were you the one in control? See, Chara just demonstrated a few notable things. 1. She does not have determination, unlike a human being. 2. Every time she kills an enemy, she becomes stronger. 3. She seeks to erase everyone from the world she's in and moves to the next world. 4. The most powerful Chara is, the more in control she becomes. So what if she was contained by Gaster into this world of Deltarune? A world made specifically to pacify her. A world where she can't kill anyone, as the monsters flee when they reach 0 HP, not getting any XP, thus making her weaker. A world where there are no choices, thus no control. A world where she's inside a human being that is controlling her with their determination. A world with no trauma, where even Azrael, that Chara doesn't know about his actual death in the real world, is replaced by the thought of him leaving for college, where it's shown to her that bullies like Susie can also become nice and friendly, where she goes on adventures, making friends and ultimately becoming a hero. A world where she's not feared for being a human. If you still think that's Chara inside Chris, and that Chris was a nice kid all along, why would he be acting strangely? In the last sequence of the town, many monsters point out that Chris can be a bully himself, making pranks to Noelle, hiding under her bed, pouring ketchup onto her arm to simulate blood, putting party poppers in the toilet, not having friends, going late to school, and many other instances. And you know who else was like that? Frisk. From the tapes we can find out the true lab in Undertale, we can see that Frisk was always a prankster, even going as far as to dangerously poison his father Asgore by making him a pie with buttercups instead of cups of butter. Frisk that died, resulting in the experiment that ultimately led to the creation of Flowey and Chara. Deltarune was made to that purpose, and that Chara won't destroy every world that is contained until it gets tamed. And no, you don't play with Chara in the actual game, you play with Frisk, a dead Frisk to be exact. Don't believe me? At the very end of Deltarune, after Chara takes control over you and rips the heart, thus determination, out, if you try to move the character you can still do it, but it will only move the red heart in the cage. It will only move the determination that Chara just got rid of. When you start Deltarune, right after the first question of "Are we connected?", the red heart pops up. Then the word "excellent" appears. You are the heart. You control the heart. Your mission is to get Chara through that adventure to make her give in to determination. When you save the game for the first time, there is a save file already in there named after Chris. The simulation is a cycle, and someone else has already been there. Now, there's one bit I noticed while writing the script, and I went back to make some research around it. Deltarune, yes, we know that's an anagram for Undertale, but also the famous unrelated that people are using to point out that there is no link between both games. But if there was no link, Toby Fox would have marketed the game as its own thing, not a game that those who finished Undertale should play. Deltarune can also spell unaltered, just like the state of the world it's in. No choice, no control, no changes, no alterations, just a repeating cycle. Why? Because like Gaster stated, it is not complete, it's far from complete. Remember Garson, the old turtle I spoke about earlier? I said that he is the only character that isn't present and that he might be because he knows things about the actual legend of Deltarune. But what does this legend say? When asked about the meaning behind Deltarune emblem, Garson says, that emblem actually predicts written history. The original meaning has been lost to time. We all know that the triangle symbolizes us monsters below, and the winged circle above symbolizes something else. Most people say it's the angel from the prophecy. Oh, yeah, the prophecy. Legend has it, an angel who has seen the service will descend from above and bring us freedom. Lately the people have been taking the bleaker outlook, calling the winged circle the angel of death, a harbinger of destruction, waiting to free us from this mortal realm. In my opinion, when I see the little circle, I just think, it looks neat. So what if Gaster, seeing and knowing about the Deltarune legend, reshaped it in his way, as a framework for his next experiment? What if the triangles do still represent the monsters, but the wings are representative of him, Gaster, the falling angel? As for the circle, the harbinger of destruction, that is Chara. I don't believe that the rumors are true that Gaster fell into his creation. Gaster created the core, the most powerful machine in the underworld, capable of transmitting energy throughout all of it. Inside, he hid the Deltarune experiment, and when it was ready enough to be completed from the inside, he uprooted himself and Chara into it, and locked himself away there, to continue working on his ultimate goal. Because a man as clever and meticulous as he is, doesn't show enough clumsiness to just fall into his creation. Nah, he was there all along. He even connected parts of the lab with his simulation, and when he arrived, he started writing entries, but the translation to the Undertale world got lost, and instead we're shown these symbols, and we hear those weird sounds. The connection was bad. The connection is taking time to establish. And just to further my point, did you notice the symbol that's visible on the core's room door? Seems familiar? And about the angel knowing the surface part, well, I don't know how he does, but if he created the simulation, he sure knows the world above. If not, how could he create a day and night cycle, while everyone seems to not know what the sun is at all at the end of Undertale? Well, everyone except Sans. Inside his simulation he contacted two people. The first is unknown, but probably Frisk, and the second is you, the player, to take part of his experiment, and to help him tame Chara. Gaster is in the system. Gaster made the system. That's why when you try to enter his name as a creation, the game or system reboots. It's just impossible. And if you try to write his name as a creator, the game crashes, because it's already established that he owns the system, and you're just trying to override his control. Plus, notice how your creation is called a vessel? A vessel for Frisk's determination and Chara's hatred and destruction. But how was Gaster able to get into the core and persist throughout the whole thing without dying? Well, Alphys's entry from the lab suggests that she wasn't the one that came up with the plan to inject monsters with determination. She found them in the blueprints, most definitely from the prior royal scientist, Gaster himself. And yes, he did inject himself with determination. How do I know that? Well, if we agree that the picture represents Gaster, for me it strikes a high resemblance to two other characters, Chara at the end of the Genocide run, after she got infected with the player's determination, and Undyne in the Genocide run, after refusing to die, creating determination herself. Monsters are just not compatible with determination, and it almost always results in them melting away slowly, and I think these three do look like they are starting to melt. Well, Chara is more of a crooked smile, but you got the point. And this is it, or at least everything I could think of at the moment, from what I understand and piece together, and from what I know about Undertale as well. But there are still so many more secrets to uncover, like the F missing from Frisk's name into Chris, that probably represents the fun factor that exists in Undertale, but not in Deltarune. I mean the randomness, not the actual fun in the game. Or how the cage and red stain in the first room might mean that the ending happened over and over again. Or when Jevil talks to the Lightners, informing them that a nightmare will awaken in their heart, probably meaning Chara, even going as far as to reference the little cell, like the cage. There are so many more details that I could spend hours talking about, but this video is already long enough as it is, and I really don't want to overwhelm anyone, including myself, with every single thing in succession. So yeah, Deltarune's biggest secret, the what, the who, the why. I tried answering these with what I came up with. Do you agree? And if no, why not? Let me know your comments down below, and maybe we can even discuss the when exactly does Deltarune take place parallel to the Undertale timeline. This has been MRSYRUS, thank you for your time, and I hope you got as much enjoyment from watching this as I had from making it, and I'll see you, perhaps, in another video soon. Ciao. Hi, I guess you thought that the video was over, and so did I actually, but while editing I was thinking about something and I checked it out, and I was very, very surprised by what I found. And yeah, this bit is not scripted, so sorry for the ums and ums. Yeah, just like this one. But this is a great discovery, so I want to share it with you guys. So while I was editing the part about the entry 17, I looked at the number and I was like, maybe this number had something, had a meaning. I didn't see anyone discuss it. So the room number was 264, right? So I checked. I googled the meaning of the number 264, and I will just leave you with what I found, and I'll leave some visual clues for what I think is connected, and you'll guess by yourself. So this is an article that appeared on Spiritual Guidance. You can guess the theme right there. Spiritual Guidance on the 22nd of May 2018. The title was Angel Number 264. Yes, this is the first thing that popped out on Google when I looked at it. And let me read you the article. It's not too long. I mean, the video is already long, but bound together by celestial forces, the three following numbers also separate without difficulty. Angel number 264, a trinity that blends to convey a time-shrouded message, embodied the following knowledge. The message borne aloft by the number 2 is one of faith, tethered to connect and synergy. The numerical attribute speaks of relationship balance, communication, intuitiveness, and other harmonizing connections. Next, the number 6 pulsates with nurturing energy. Sorry, I'm too excited for this. Nurturing energy, integrity, care, and domestic openness. And the value that resonates with this digit is revealed. Lastly, number 4 is associated with focus. It's the determination, the will, and tenacity that lends energy to an individual's sense of purpose. All three digits overflow with distinct meanings. So how does the angel number 264 bind these fate-transforming energies? In the realm of energy, number 264 is regarded as a divine figure. The central nucleus described here projects a need to provide for the self and for others. Orbiting that provisioning core, faith and trust are the moons that hold the harmonizing forces in place. Then, joining that esoteric orbit, potent actions provide momentum. Working in concert, these three elemental essences blend to pass on knowledge. that numerical crafted wisdom reverberates in and around the number 264 to impart the following message: work hard. Expend a worthy effort and feel the rewards. Begin with a seed of faith, a modicum of trust, and nourish that seed as it grows. Apply passion to the endeavor. But never be selfish, never self-absorbed, for the passion described by the angel number 264 are selfless and charitable, not centered in the self. And should you lose touch with your angels, focus once more on this number, for it will restore balance. As that balance develops and positive attitude burgeons, your selflessly driven passion will bring about sought after goal. Well, that was something. I'm really sorry for the stuttering and the mistakes I did. Again, I'm not natively English speaking, so yeah, some mistakes are bound to happen. This is quite huge, actually. This supports many things. Like I said, I will put like visual clues and stuff, but mainly the angel part of my theory about Gaster, the synergy and stuff like that, the balance, the everything, even determination and focus and stuff like that is like included in this. Communication, connection. I don't know. This is too good to be true, actually, but it makes total sense. I have nothing else to add. This is probably what I think at the moment, and I probably will end the video here for real this time. So please, please leave your comments below and tell me what do you think and how do you connect this with everything that I just said, or with what you think revolves around Gaster and the story, the whole story of Undertale and Deltarune. Thank you all for watching, and I don't know if I'll make other English videos, but see you soon, I guess. So, ciao. Yeah, for real this time. Ciao.